And welcome into this breaking news edition of MIZ Central. On top of other transfer portal news, Beau Pribula has entered the transfer portal and intends to leave the Missouri Tigers. I'm Grant Salzman. He's Brennan Schaefer. And Brennan, we've talked about it of what will Missouri do. We were actually just talking about it yesterday. Do they bring a third guy in and maybe force Perbula out? Well, it seems to me that a meeting was pretty much had, and it was told, Beau, you're not the guy next year. That's what it seems to me. What's your initial reaction to this, Brendan Schaefer?
Yeah, I don't know if it was as specific as a meeting where he was told that, but I think at worst, this is a mutual uh, beneficiary where the Tigers have an opportunity to move forward with a different option, and Beau has an opportunity to go somewhere else and potentially be a starter. I was a big Beau Pribula fan when he came in. Really liked what we saw him do against teams like Kansas and South Carolina. But as the season wore on, he regressed throwing the football. And I think if you're Eli Drinkwitz and you can realize that within a couple of the recent seasons, you've been a quarterback away from being probably in the college football playoff, um, you, you don't want to necessarily have that happen again. And so I'm not saying definitively like, yeah, Drink kicked him out the door, but I feel like it was going to be mutually beneficial to say, hey, we're going to look to allocate some resources a little bit differently here. Obviously, Beau Pribula was making NIL. For him to be entering the portal probably takes Mizzou off the hook for whatever that would have looked like, and he can go pursue an opportunity to start somewhere. Whereas I just can't imagine that they would have gone into next year saying, yeah, Beau, you've got the job, when you've got Matt Zollers knocking on the door and potentially an addition from the portal coming in to either compete with Zollers or to be considered the starter above him. It just, I think, makes a lot of sense. Kind of like I felt about the Kirby Moore departure, where it wasn't like Mizzou fired Kirby Moore. No, he got a better opportunity. But I think it works out for Missouri. And I don't think this was something Eli Drinkwitz was in the least bit surprised about. I think he is ready for the opportunity to, pick up the baton and say either pass it to Matt Zollers, as he'll be doing for the Gator Bowl, or, going big game hunting when it comes to the transfer portal and trying to land your white whale in the portal at the quarterback position.
Perbula ends 1,941 yards, 11 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. Obviously, used his legs as well heavily, but it just seemed, Brendan, that this wasn't gonna be the fit. To your point, Missouri's been a quarterback away the last few seasons, it feels like, and especially next year, I think when the schedule's favorable as a 9 game SEC schedule can be, you need to go all in. And if you thought there was any doubt in your mind that Perbula wasn't that guy, I think it's a mutual agreement, like you said. So now Matt Zollers starts the bowl game Saturday versus Virginia. Do you think this is a barometer test for Missouri and Matt Zollers of kind of what type of quarterback Missouri brings in? Is it just a backup? Is it a guy that could compete with Zollers, or a superstar? Or do you think Missouri kind of already has that idea because they've seen Zollers play a few games?
Yeah, I really don't know what the path forward is going to be. Like, on one hand, there are Mizzou fans who are convinced like this means Matt Zollers is the starter for 2026 and they're moving forward with the Zollers era. And like, maybe I didn't see anything from Matt Zollers this year that makes me super comfortable with that idea. But also, he wasn't supposed to play this year. And so to judge him on those few games is not, I think, realistic in setting the expectation for what he'll be moving forward. But if you're putting all your eggs in that basket, you know that he's going to have to develop and grow up pretty quickly in this league. If he's going to be your starter and you're coming into August and September with that in mind, like, it's just around the corner. I think I would be a lot more comfortable with the idea of, and look, it's not that the perfect scenario is going to be out there. I don't know. But if there's a transfer quarterback with 1 year of eligibility remaining, and he's definitively, puts you up a level in terms of what you can produce with that player. And it's hard to always know that. Sometimes you go after a transfer and it doesn't work out. But if that player exists in the portal, I would hope that they would put a lot of resources into trying to attract that player to come here, because what I think it would do is it would allow for Matt Zollers to have comfort in knowing that, like, my time will still come here. I don't have to enter into the transfer portal myself, but it would also maybe allow for the opportunity to have your best foot forward in 2026. And like, it's not even to say that Matt Zollers couldn't beat that player out. I don't know what
Yeah.
that level of NIL is, where if you attract a player at a certain price point, you kind of expect that guy to be the starter. But Matt Zollers, I'm sure, is not playing for free either. And so finding that line of being able to attract, like maybe it's that they don't attract the number one, like the Sam Levitt or whoever that may end up being, because that guy's going to get overpaid. Maybe they have to go after a portal quarterback, but it's, somebody that they think could outplay Matt Zollers, and they'll let that show. But if he doesn't, you're okay with Matt Zollers taking the reins next year. I think the bowl game, to your question, will allow for some more evaluation opportunities for Missouri and for Eli Drinkwitz. I think he already probably has an idea of what he believes Zollers will be capable of by September of 2026. But having a bowl game opportunity where like the reps count, it is a game, but it's also, it's not the same as a regular season game where the playoff is still in the picture and anything you do wrong could jeopardize that. You can kind of take some chances, I feel like, in this game. Even with the depleted wide receiver core, I would love to see them open up the offense post Kirby Moore and see what Zollers can do with his arm, because flashing that a little bit and seeing some proof of concept in that, I'm not saying it will make the full decision for Drink, but it could go a long way toward a thought of, hey, maybe we can really move forward with this guy and spend some of that NIL money at other positions of need.
And if you look at this year's roster, I mean, we don't know the exact numbers, but they were paying 3 quarterbacks this year, probably a decent amount. Sam Horn, we know, had NIL money. We know Beau Pribula was making over $1 million, and Matt Zollers wasn't playing for free, like you said. So maybe now you go into a situation where it's 2 quarterbacks being paid. You're probably going to have to up Matt Zollers' contract, and maybe, like you said, that transfer portal guy is going to make a little bit more money, and maybe you do have the funds for it now, because you went from paying 3 guys to, assuming Sam Horn's not on this roster next year also, right, you're paying 2 guys.
Yeah, I think they could. The problem with it is not as much the finances. Like if you're bringing in a Sam Horn type, a guy that, yeah, he was going to compete with Beau Pribula to be the starter, and we would see who wins, rather than one of the big names that's going to be paid $3 million, like something crazy like that. If you're bringing in that caliber of a transfer, convincing that guy to come and that he may not be the starter when he gets here is a difficult balance, because I think with the portal era, a lot of these kids want the opportunity to kind of get that sure thing when it comes to playing time. I think most programs worth their salt can't tell a guy coming in, like, yeah, you're going to be the starter.
Yeah.
If they've got another guy on the roster that's being, paid similarly in NIL that they feel highly about. But like, that's the challenge that coaches have, is trying to, without lying to players, tell them, hey, like, here's the opportunity that you could have coming in here. You've got to work for it. You've got to earn it. I think Drink can find that guy. I don't know who he'll be. If they go that route where they're a little bit more leaning towards Zollers, but they need to bring in some competition to push him. Is that a group of 5 type of transfer that had a really good season, but isn't on the radar as much as some of these other big name Power 4 transfers? Maybe that's the route they end up going. I'm not sitting here today and saying, like, I would be disappointed if Zollers is the quarterback in 2026. There's a realm in which, he's the one who was promised, and anything that he did as a true freshman after missing his entire senior season in high school shouldn't really be held against him. Mm-hmm. And all the excitement about his arm talent and the things that we like about him are still very, very true. And then he takes that leap because he got his feet wet a little bit and has a collegiate season under his belt, and he can move forward with the game not speeding up on him so much, and like he's in the rhythm. I still think Matt Zollers can be that guy. I just am very curious what Drink's going to do. But like, if you look at the early reads on it, he's very quick to post to social media, Matt Zollers QB1 for the Gator Bowl. Doesn't mean he's QB1 for next year, but it doesn't mean that he's not. And it seems that there is a lot of excitement from Eli Drinkwitz about what Matt Zollers can become. And I think it makes sense, too, for him to show that. Even if in the back of his mind he's kind of checking in on potential portal options, you want Matt Zollers to feel respected in your program. You want him to feel valued in your program, and he's going to get a real opportunity to shine, I think, in this bowl game. And I bet they do. I know Lamont Hardy's going to be chasing some records with this game, but I really do think they'll try to open it up a little bit offensively and see what Zollers can do with that arm. Kind of an F it, Alubide's down there somewhere type of vibe to this game would be fun for Mizzou fans, I think.
So we're talking about kind of the type of quarterback they could bring in, because they are going to bring in a quarterback. They're not going to just roll with Zollers and Brett Brown and whatever other freshmen are coming in, like there will be probably 2 quarterbacks brought in this transfer portal. One you would
Probably
assume
one.
can at least, I would think maybe 2, one being a Drew Pine type of player, maybe less than that.
Okay.
Somebody who
Yeah.
a third string quarterback that knows he's a third string quarterback, that
Okay.
type of situation. So if, for your main quarterback, what do you prefer? Do you want, thinking of the money and the constraints that Missouri might have, what would you prefer being brought in? That superstar quarterback, and then maybe you can't pay the rest, or a guy that can at least compete with Zollers, and then you got some money for the wide receivers line and defense?
If that player exists in the portal that is worth the millions of dollars that you'd have to pay to attract him, and they can get him to sign and come here, I would pursue a big fish. I would pursue, in an ideal world, it's a guy who's only got 1 year of eligibility, but I'm also not going to plan my 2026 quarterback around, well, what if I lose Zollers the next year because he doesn't want to sit around? I don't really care who the quarterback is. I'm excited about Matt Zollers. I want the quarterback to be one of the best in the country. And if there's a guy like that in the portal that you can go out and get, I think it would be foolish, whether he's got 1 year, 2 year, whatever of eligibility remaining. I think it would be foolish not to pursue that player if you're Eli Drinkwitz and you think you can get him. There have been instances where there has been interest, talks, pursuits of guys like Jaden Daniels, Fernando Mendoza, and you can wonder, exactly how deep did it ever go with those players. And so maybe it's possible that those types of names within this portal class just aren't accessible to you. But if they are, I'm not going to say, nah, no thanks, because I want to keep Matt Zollers happy. Like, if I think Matt Zollers is better than those players, I'll play him. But if I don't, I'm not really trying to look ahead to 2027. It's a year-to-year proposition. You don't want to make a decision on what not to do right now because you're worried that a year from now, Matt Zollers might decide to up and leave the same way Beau Pribula does. Like, you're playing for 1 year time increments when it comes to the quarterback position, and getting it right is everything. So no, I would be pursuing the very top of the portal list. Drink's going to have an opportunity to hire an offensive coordinator before the portal opens officially on January 2nd. So even if, there are some backroom deals done by different programs with quarterbacks, you're always going to have an opportunity, I think, to still pitch those guys and say, hey, here's who we brought in for OC. Here's his track record with the passing game. Here's how we get you to the NFL. Show up here for 1 year and we're going to make it happen. Like, I think Drinkwitz is going to be monitoring those circles. And then if not, he has demonstrated how confident he is in Matt Zollers to where you can move forward with him as the quarterback if some of your, behind the scenes dealings don't end up bringing in that superstar caliber player. But no, I'm shooting for the moon when it comes to that. And if I land somebody, great. And if I don't, only Drink really knows how comfortable he is with that. But I think a lot of Mizzou fans are. Like, in the reply comments I've seen already on Twitter today, people saying, it's Zollers' team. Like, I'm excited for Zollers. And maybe that ends up working out. I still think if you're Drink, you have to look at who may still enter the portal. Like, I don't think there's a ton of guys in there right now that I'm just falling over myself to get instead of Matt Zollers as the starting quarterback next year. But I do think that there could be more motion in that portal class that's going to merit your consideration.
Yeah, and I think what you said earlier is such a good way to look at it. It's an opportunity. Just like the OC, there's an opportunity here. And I think I'm in the vote of, if you have a super talented guy in the portal, go get him, because I want to win now. Maybe Zoller struggles and maybe he's ready by 2027, but I want to win right now. So I think bringing in that best guy for 2026, you can worry about 2027 later. A couple comments here in the section. One about the wide receivers, that those are going to be important. Asking which ones, I think is a tough question, because like Brennan said, I think a lot of players still aren't quite in the portal yet. A lot of guys I think will officially enter after their bowl games.
Yeah.
And Zollers will throw a lot more, and receivers will be important. Alugbade is number one to keep. Make sure Donovan Alugbade is on this roster next year.
Yeah,
and then
nothing that has happened in the receiving core for Missouri yet has concerned me at all. No. Like, I don't care. Losing Marquise Johnson, don't care. Knew it would. If you saw his body language, you knew too. Josh Manning, I was a little bummed out because I think he's a good contributing player. He's a good, talented receiver. But as long as you have Alugbade, you can build out a wide receiver 2, a wide receiver 3. I hope that Folks, the freshman, is healthy for the bowl game, because he showed a little bit of juice in the receiving game, or in the return game when they had him in there. And that's a case where, like, man, when you've got freshmen and you're deep in a position group, we saw it with defensive ends, and Hilson ends up transferring out right before we ever really see him. That's all well and good. It means they had some talented players above him. Right now, though, you don't, because of the transfers coming out at the wide receiver position. And so let those freshmen play, and you may learn, like you may see it on film and go, oh, that guy's got it. I don't need to be as aggressive in the portal because I got to see this guy play in a game and see what he looks like in that setting. And he's really exciting. I maybe don't want to block that guy. I'm going to get some depth for the receiving room for sure, but I don't have to be desperate about it because I see a vision for this player or that player that we maybe didn't see during the regular season. I would be really excited to see if they can get a couple of those guys in there and maybe see what they're made of in the bowl game.
And another comment too, talking about this offensive coordinator hire, is one of the more important decisions for Drink. I think it's one of the most important decisions Drink's had as with his time here at Missouri. Is he made the right choice with Kirby Moore. I know Mizzou fans were jaded on him by the end, but Moore helped elevate this offense, help elevate this program. Now, how do you keep it going? Do you hire the OC that will bring the quarterback? Do you hire an OC that a quarterback wants to come play with? We know Beau Pribula wanted to come play for Mizzou because of Kirby Moore. Like, the OC hire, I think, could go hand in hand if there's a transfer quarterback as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree that it's going to be important. One is going to inform the other. I would think that the offensive coordinator is hired before any transfers come in because the portal doesn't actually open until the 2nd of January. You can't actually physically enter it until then. So the announcements are going to indicate that guys are in the portal, but you're not going to be able to take any action in a meaningful way on that officially. Bowl game will happen, I think, very quickly thereafter, or maybe even before. Like, if Drink feels like he's set up with bowl prep and then he wants to spend some time focusing on OC stuff, then maybe he does that before the 27th of December. But it probably comes together in the days following the bowl game. And then the lay of the land when you're officially pitching the folks in the portal at whatever position it may be, offensively, wide receiver, quarterback, etc. Maybe backup running back if they end up needing to replace Jamal Roberts, which I hope they don't. But, it certainly seems like things could be going that way because of finances. Then you have an opportunity to be able to say, here's what our vision is with this offensive coordinator that we've brought in, and here's how you fit into that. I don't know that there's, like, it's a good trope of, the OC that comes with the quarterback and, like, compels the quarterback to join him. I don't really know who's out there that's worth having, because Eric Morris is going to get Mestamaker, and that's already, that's the only quarterback that I feel like is going to be fitting to that as of now. But a lot more guys are going to enter the portal. And so I'm saying, like, interesting trope, keep an eye on it. I don't know that there's an example right now that I would point to and say that's particularly likely, but can't hurt, and even if it isn't the OC and quarterback coming to Missouri from the same place, you're definitely going to have, quarterbacks that will look at whoever you hire at OC and say, oh, I can envision myself fitting into that system. That's going to be really interesting.
One big name was Casey Woods, the SMU offensive coordinator who spent 2 years at Missouri, spent 2 years under Eli Drinkowitz. But he is now the top target.
Was at Missouri, though. That was right. You didn't.
Okay, so he was at Missouri. Pardon me. Yeah. But he is the top target now for the Missouri State job, according to some people on social media. Pete Thamel, I think, tweeted that as well. So that's one offensive coordinator that I think you and me both would have been fans of, it might be off the board there for the Tigers if he becomes the next head coach of the Missouri State Bears.
Yeah, I saw the tweet of that being reported, and I was like, I see the Missouri part. And I was like, hey, wait a second. And then I said, Missouri State head coach. Which, like, again, if you're going to have an opportunity to be a head coach, same as Kirby Moore took that opportunity, run your own program, show what you're made of, like, absolutely. So I think that would be a good hire from Missouri State, not for nothing. But, yeah, it would be an indicator that Missouri is not going to get him. And so you continue to go out there and see what you can do. I think they're going to throw some money around when it comes to the OC spot. And, like, it's identical with Kirby Moore and Beau Pribula both leaving of their own accord. You don't have to pay buyouts. Like, that's the key there, is, like, if you wanted to move on from Kirby Moore, which even if you did, I don't think they were going to, because he was making $1.5 million or whatever it is, and you just have to pay him all that money to not coach for you. That would be crazy. Beau Pribula, same thing. That's a hard amount of money to sit on your bench if you're trying to go out and also spend in the portal. And so I definitely felt Beau transferring out would happen before anything else, and we didn't have to wait long for that indicator. And so now it's opportunity, man. There's a lot of different ways this could go, but we're starting to see the tea leaves of the two variables from this group that are definitively now changing. And I'm excited. I'm not excited that Beau is gone because I really liked him. And like, what if he could put it together? He's such a good runner and has good instincts, I feel. But clearly, he just didn't have the processing necessary to do it at this level in the SEC. And so, you move on. But I think this is an opportunity where Drink has almost a blank slate with in his back pocket a Matt Zollers that he really, really likes and would be okay with going into next year as the starter. But you have an opportunity to kind of make some luxury additions on top of that and say, hey, it'd be a luxury to pay big for an OC that people are excited about as a passing game and bring in a quarterback that has a year left and wants to make his mark before going to the NFL, doing the same thing, be able to shine against high caliber SEC competition that gets you into the NFL draft conversation. Like we can do that for a year and still have Matt Zollers potentially knowing that, hey, after that, like we're not bringing in anybody above you, but let's let you redshirt next year. Like, I don't think redshirts matter anymore because if a guy is good enough after 4 years of college, whether he played 4 games in one of those 4 years or not, he's NFL eligible and certainly would be within his rights to go at that point if he's that dude. Otherwise, like, why even really worry too much about the redshirt? But maybe Matt Zollers views it as an opportunity and says, hey, if I only play 4 games next year because you do bring in a portal quarterback above me, and knowing that I have the runway of potentially 3 more years, if I wanted to use them all, we could really do some special things here. Like, I don't know anything about Matt Zollers to know, what his vision for his career is, but like that is a vision that you could sell if you're Eli Drinkwitz. And you could say, hey, look, dude, like we're bringing in a 1-year wonder, but at the same time, you weren't the starter coming into this year. You weren't even the QB2 coming into this year, and yet you played. So there's some real opportunity there, I think, for the way that this could be handled. Comments in the comment section here. One from MIZ Fan 2026 says, come back, Sam Horn. I don't know what we think about that. I do not expect Sam Horn back. I feel like he signed a professional contract with the Dodgers. He's going to be doing Dodger stuff when it comes to January, February. And once he goes, he doesn't come back. Like the Dodgers aren't going to loan him back to Missouri football for August. I think he goes and is not part of the room next year, if I had to guess.
I think you're right. I don't think we'll see Sam Horn back in a Missouri Tiger uniform, football or baseball. I think he will go play with the LA Dodgers. Want to take a quick break?
He's already signed, so he wouldn't be able to do that. But yeah,
that's a good point. Want to take a quick break here and tell you about DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. You still have time to use code STL Sports. New Missouri customers, all you have to do is bet $5 and you get $300 in bonus bets instantly. That's code STL Sports. The crown is yours in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
Now, speaking of DraftKings, I looked just because I was curious what the line movement would be, and Missouri, that opened as a 7-point favorite at Virginia, is now a 4-point favorite against the Cavaliers in Orlando. So I hope, Brendan, you didn't take the Tigers as soon as the matchup got released, because now you've been able to get 3 points. I think it might come down a little bit more, maybe to 2 or 3 points if you're wanting to wager on the Tigers.
Yeah, I have not placed a wager as of yet. I think a lot of the transfer stuff has gone against Missouri with the receivers entering, and I don't think Perbula makes them any points worse necessarily. No. But like if the market decided that it does, then great, because you might get more value because of that. Zollers has to play better than what we saw from him this year, though. Like that's the reason I am not comfortable just saying, yeah, Zollers is our guy and we're going to spend the money at other positions. I do want them to bring in an equal or better competitor to be able to push him for the competition next year, because I think while his future remains bright, it's a lot to hinge on the upcoming season as your plan A, when I just don't think we've seen him be ready for that. So maybe a bowl opportunity is one that allows him to sort of take the mindset he had at Vanderbilt, where it's just like, hey, nothing to lose, come in, do what you can. And like that allowed him to play loose, play free. And he played with really good processing in that game. He hit his marks, and I thought he played really well. So hopefully that's what you get from Matt Zollers in this bowl game, and then it can give you some more proof of concept of what he could be next year. But as of right now, yeah, I would like there to be some additional competition from the portal. I think there will be. And as for this bowl game, yeah, it'll depend upon who he's got to throw the football to, and what additional transfers are announced that could leave Mizzou even more shorthanded. I'll probably still end up betting the Tigers though for the game just for fun, and don't mind that we're getting a little bit of extra value on that after it went down a couple of points.
Yeah, extra value indeed. And to your point, Zollers' best game was that Vandy game. That quarter he played was probably the best quarter, maybe besides the first against Mississippi State. Before we go, any last thoughts here about Perbula leaving and maybe the future of the Missouri Tigers in the quarterback position?
Yeah, it's going to be a really, really interesting few weeks, and I'm excited about it. Like if you're wondering about my disposition, it's more excitement than it is concern, because I would say that this is a better outcome in terms of Drink being able to put his stamp on things the way he wants, compared to if Kirby had stayed and Beau had stayed and we were just rolling it back with what you had. I'm not saying it can't get worse from an overall perspective. The passing game cannot get worse than it was the final few games of the season, but they did have some good games early in the season, like Kansas, like South Carolina. But since I really don't feel like it can get worse than where we ended up in the final couple of regular season games, Oklahoma, Arkansas in particular, I am excited for the opportunity to potentially have Drinkwood say, here's what wasn't working, and I can make decisions now that impacts that in a positive way.
Well, for Brennan Schaefer, I'm Grant Salzman. Beau Pribula out. Matt Zollers starting the bowl game against Virginia next Saturday. This was Mizzou Central, an instant reaction show. Make sure to stay tuned to STL Sports Central for more Mizzou news and all your St. Louis sports news.